or blind spots. Like I said, they're just as they say, you're blind to them. You don't even recognize that they're.
Okay.
But when they come to the forefront, you see, oh gosh, that's an error in my way, and
Kind of like when Max like clicks his pen all the time.
Exactly.
That's a blind spot, right?
Yeah, blind, I don't know.
And an opportunity.
That's an opportunity to improve.
oftentimes blind spots become opportunities. So yes, they can see how you would think that they're the same thing, but.
Would you be able to put some language together?
Yep,
Thank you.
have to.
I just think that would help. Like when I read that, I read those kind of similarly. Thank you, Jeff.
Would we be completing our evaluation simultaneously with those questions being answered by administrative staff and central office? I think it's important.
Well, that's a good question. My thought is we would have those.
Right, I was thinking we were having this.
Is there any risk of those answers swaying our answers though?
Probably, but if they know what we're doing and react accordingly, I would think we could navigate.
I think there's an argument for both.
If you let that sway what you're doing, then that's probably either a blind spot or an opportunity that you have done for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
turn it on me, huh?
Same blind spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
Okay,
that-
fair enough.
Well, we-
Yeah.
Like we could reconcile it individually and weigh it however we like, but we have that to consider.
Okay.
Just
Jordan, the way I was envisioning all like kind of the evaluation happening from my perspective was I have my own data based on what I know of Dr. Lee and what I received from him. You know, the communication I received from him, the information I received from him, his timeliness, things like that, that I have personally witnessed that I can say, I know for a fact that he does X, Y, Z. But there may be some pieces that I don't know that are on the other side that through these.
So those answers would be an aid for your.
Yeah.
All right.
So I don't know that they would sway me as much as they might add more depth.
Okay.
Is that?
Yeah,
That makes sense.
it makes sense to me.
Other questions or thoughts? Great. Jeff, thanks for working on these and sharing
Yeah.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Wonderful. We don't need to do any kind of approval on that, right?
Yeah.
We're just doing it.
We're just proceeding.
Okay, now it's for the fun part of the meeting. All right, so not that I take that back. Magical is the fun part of the meeting. This is the second most fun part of the meeting. So, Dr. Lee and I met with our architect about a week ago, and we, as a board, we've had a lot of conversations around facilities. As a community, we've had a lot of conversations around facilities. We've had core strategic team conversations, listening sessions. There have been a lot of ideas kind of thrown around. And when talking this over with Dr. Lee, we kind of felt like one of the best solutions so that everybody feels heard is to come up with multiple plans that address what we have identified as the big needs. And then figure out with those multiple plans, what is the cost for those plans and what is the timeline for those plans? And what is the cost on waiting on those plans? Like I was talking with Mr. Jordan yesterday. So what we would like to do as a team, as a board, is come up with 4 to 6 potential ideas for facilities. And they can be anything. But my request is that it encompasses all of the pieces. So for example, don't just say, I think we should build a new high school. Great. Say more about that with regard to all of the other campuses and all of the other buildings. Then once we have, and if we only come up with 3, we only come up with 3. If we come up with 6, great. I really don't want to go too far beyond 6 because then it gets a little bit unmanageable. Then we will take those ideas and give those over to Damien, who's our district architect, and ask him to price those out for us. And he is completely on board with this. He will price it out and kind of give us a timeline of what that might look like. And then he will bring all of that back to us. Did we confirm? Is he still good with January 8th?
I'm gonna speak with him tomorrow.
Okay.
But I have not heard anything
So
different.
the hope is that he will bring it back to us on January 8th during that study session. And we will be able to have a study session focused solely on facilities and what those plans might look like. From there then, those 6 plans or 3 plans or however many plans we come up with, go back to our educators, the facilities team within the community, anybody else who needs to get their their voice into it, and then it will all kind of come back to us. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Let's make a plan.
Okay.
All right, are we ready?
Yep.
All right, who wants to go first? Go, Becky.
Do you want to tell him, I'm sorry. to-
No,
Do you want to tell the board what you've already told Damien to start working?
Yeah.
There was a couple scenarios to start working on, right?
Well, I kind of wanted those to happen here.
Okay,
I think they will probably come up.
absolutely.
But I will tell you that one of the things we talked about was, I did bring up the fact that we have heard from several people about potentially building a new high school, converting the high school into a new middle school. Okay, so that was one piece. The other thing that we talked a lot about was the importance of safety when it comes to the new building and comes to facilities, as well as updates to any of the additional facilities. And we also talked about the issue with land. We currently own land. If we were building a high school, we would not be able to build on the land that we own. What would that look like?
We just don't have enough.
Time, now, true.
We could put-
True, so I don't know what that surrounding land looks like, right? What the timeline of that would look like and how the prices of purchasing land, purchasing that much acreage, what that would do to the total cost. Am I missing anything? Okay. If I did, make sure I cover it to the group, okay? All right, Becky,
Okay.
start us off.
So I had a long drive today
Okay,
and with my husband and we were going back and forth. And so what if we build a new high school behind where the practice football field is now? And according to Google Earth, and that's why I was texting today about acreage, the square footage, there's enough square footage, like we'd have to build up, like stories for the high school. And then we would, because I would want to make Middletown pre-K, kindergarten, and first. Then make Lincoln Trail third, second, and third. And then the junior high now, fourth and fifth. And make the high school the new junior high.
so you would have both, I just want to clarify, you're gonna have the junior high students inside the high school and then the high school behind it.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we would take out softball and baseball fields, make that parking. Take out the bleachers for the football field now, make that parking, and we could even have, and make the football field a practice field for band and for football. And hopefully make it turf just for wear and tear purposes.
Say it again, turn,
Turn the football field in
Football
now to a practice field.
okay,
And then we could have a road coming from Crawley and even maybe from Division. Like so for drop off purposes. And then we'd have way more parking to add. And then we would take softball, baseball, and football here to all the area that we have here. And make a new football field and make that track too. And we can keep the current track as well for practice.
Okay.
And also move the bus barn here. And then we can make more additional parking overflow where the bus barn is now for junior high. And then I do think that the soccer field needs to kind of be vamped up a little bit because that wouldn't be any different than what they're using now, but there would need to be more parking. Now, if that junior high would be fourth and fifth, there's gonna have to be playground. So we could put the playground where the trailers are now. And use that for playground. And we're not buying any more land. We're using our existing land. Yeah. And we have additional parking
did you,
that we're having a problem with at the high school now.
you said something about acreage, can you say more about what you were looking at?
So, well, on Google Earth, I can't remember what the square footage is of the high school now, but there's that much room where the practice field is.
Okay,
So the acreage that we have here is about the same size as the high school now. Left over, right? Similar, 3.8 times, you said, there's like 3.9 over here. So I think there's enough room. I'm not an architect, but I think there's enough room for a football field, softball field, and a baseball field,
So
and a bus barn.
the site that we're on now is 33.38 acres, which we don't.
But I'm
use.
not gonna build anything but
I'm just
fields.
giving
Okay.
some context. Which we don't use all of, and then the other site is 31.606. I'm just telling you, because you talked about building stuff there.
And again, it's just me brainstorming, I don't.
I love it.
I
Keep it
think
coming,
we can
keep it
build a
coming.
high, and I think we can, there's enough room to build another
And-
high school,
and
and then we
here's-
still have the field house.
Here's why I wanna do this, because none of us are architects. So what I wanna do is say, this is our idea, architect, figure out if we can do this. And if we literally cannot do this, if there is no possible way, then let him be the one to tell us that.
And we can add on to the alternative school now, I have all this money, and make alternative school junior high kids too if needed.
So I just wanna make sure I understand. By shifting to essentially 3 elementaries, we're creating space within those buildings without having to add on to those buildings. Because we're taking a grade level out of each of them, right? So that space would come from the quote unquote junior high, the junior high building. Are you thinking convert the junior high building or use the junior high space to build a new elementary building?
No, the only new building I was thinking is to build a new high school.
Okay, so you would want to convert
The junior high, fourth and fifth.
junior high to an elementary, okay?
And fourth and fifth is also the grades, I think third too, that has like JBBA and there's 2 gyms.
What I like is because I think we're having all these different plans, you're gonna have a range of costs on some of these.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of like keeping that in mind, like
Yeah.
we already own this, like we're gonna reuse this building. So I think it's a creative idea.
I don't know about traffic might be crazy, but if we
Yeah.
can have from someone coming in from Division and a road coming in from Holly and widen it by taking those bleachers out of the football field, I might.
We've also heard consistently to use this, the middle.
We're not selling anything either.
Yeah, we're not selling and we wanna keep those buildings we have and make them safer. But I think we heard from the community, don't sell.
Yeah, I think I've heard that from time to time.
So
Thank you.
I don't know if this plan is like as fleshed out as yours.
Okay.
And I
We're driving in front of
This is also, this is more, I'm trying to give a shout out to somebody that put a lot of time and effort, that was there at all of our meetings throughout the summer and was on the core strategic team. But Mr. Pike, he kept hammering away at a campus. So
So I can't.
I think we should give that its credence. He felt really strongly about that. And I don't know where exactly that would be. And I think that it would not be in our best interest to talk about specific sites per se.
Yes, no, correct.
I think you're right.
But given the fact that we have this piece of land and already own another, it's a natural jump to say that maybe it's located around here. So that campus would be 4 buildings, I
Okay.
guess. So help me out. I'm just trying to, that wasn't my main idea, but
No. So
so a campus, so all the buildings in one central spot.
okay, so we would have MPE right here where it is.
So I would envision it as like a phased
Yes,
deal. And so like if we purchase the land now, then maybe, and the interim use would be like farmland, we could have a farmer run it out or whatever.
What we do now.
so would you anticipate first, so we have MPE right now.
Right.
What do you think we would build first?
Again, this is not my plan that I've fleshed out wholeheartedly.
Listen.
So I'm asking for you guys, but I know, I was really hitting this hard, and I think
Yeah.
that of our 6 options, it should be one, for
Yeah.
sure. It's pretty ambitious, but.
It's ambitious and I think it's very long-term.
Right.
And I think that's something that we are also hearing from the community. They want something long-term. Like, yes, it's nice that we could build a junior high and have an immediate fix. What's the long-range plan?
Right.
So, like, if we are going to
So
do something,
maybe it would be, first, how did you have this? Kindergarten first year, and then the next building would be, second and third. And then we could split, Lincoln Trail and the junior high as needed. Not how that
Okay.
works either. And then the next one would be, cause I think that the high school is okay for a while, maybe.
yeah,
So that one would be last in that rotation, so.
right.
Unless anyone else has any great ideas on that, that's again, not my plan that I've fleshed out, but.
I like that. I've almost,
We definitely have better road access with the new
Yes.
railroad crossing traffic. I know traffic's still kind of rough here. Has it improved since?
I don't know, but I love that new road.
Yeah.
I love that new road.
I
Have you
think,
noticed a difference in that?
I don't see a lot of action. I think the general consensus is the new road's gonna get more use when
Connect.
folks in the south
So
part of town can get all the way.
it looks like the land to the east of that pond here is like developer owned, so I'm assuming that's probably residential.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
But I'm not sure what these parcels are to the east, kind of around, like if you look at that turnabout, there's kind of 4 parcels around that.
Yeah.
So,
So potentially, we could potentially keep everything the same. One question I'm wondering is, would we have enough land in this space to build a smaller 2-3 building near here? We know we have enough space on the other side of the road for a junior high.
I think you could, if you like, and this is just a aerial, but kind of like you did with the footprint of the high school, I think you could get another footprint of a building this size. And then this building, you have your admin offices and stuff too, so like there might be more room for class sizes.
So the main question is gonna be, what do you do with the old buildings?
under that.
Yeah.
I think whatever we do, like you need to tell the architect, like if we say we want it for 1,200 people, 500 people want. Because we don't want no less than this building.
Yeah.
Here's the,
But you also don't wanna build a building that's gonna be half empty.
Yeah, I'm not saying half empty, but some of it needs to be empty because we're gonna grow, in my opinion.
Well, or with plans to
To be
build
able to
on.
expand or something,
Correct.
yes.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah, I think Kyle's right. There are people who are focused on campus. And then there's a lot of questions about that. Exactly, what do you do with the old buildings? But I think we owe it to them to explore
Sure.
here's what a campus looks like. And to the best of our knowledge, here's what might happen. I think that's all part of exploring that option.
Exactly, so again, not necessarily my plan that I'm holding on to, but I think that's one worth.
I think there's.
I think so, and I mean,
There's interest in the community in that. We just.
So
thank you, Tom.
what if we
Questions?
did build a junior high, still kept the current junior high, but moved, say, the freshman class to the current junior high? Is that an option? I mean, so they would,
What would that do?
well, it moves the junior high. If we are gonna continue to grow, then we're gonna need more space eventually at the high school. I'm just spitballing this, just listening to Kyle and thinking, well, how would you do that? And I'm like, what if we always talk about, oh, getting rid of the junior high. The junior high is the of most need. What if we rehabbed it, but still used it and took some of the pressure out of the high school? I don't know what that does downstream to the other grades. You probably have to build something here as well. But just as she was talking about moving the bus barn to create more parking, that was just not something I thought of.
So, I was thinking the opposite end. So
Yeah.
you were thinking freshmen, the meeting room in the high school.
Correct, because
I
eventually
was
that's,
thinking,
that,
which we can add space to, because we have room to do that. My thought process through all of this has been, when you have 850 elementary students in one elementary building, that is too many students. It is a burden to our teachers, it is a burden to the students, it creates overcrowding, it creates I can't even imagine that master schedule to create encore classes. So kind of like what Becky was thinking, going back to 2-strand buildings, elementary buildings, like we used to have, where Middletown would be K1, pre-K, as well as K1. We would have an elementary 2-3, an elementary 4-5. We would have a middle school and we would have a high school. But my thought process was, if you were to take the second graders out of Middletown, that creates space here, so you don't need to add on space here. You convert I don't know, and this is what I would wonder, is it cheaper to convert the junior high into an elementary? Or is it cheaper to just build a new elementary on the junior high land? That space there becomes junior. Lincoln Trail becomes either a 2-3 or a 4-5, a 2-grade building. Because then you don't have to add on to Middletown and you don't have to add on to Lincoln Trail because you've removed 300 students. And we can go back to the high school plan of originally they had looked at converting adding on the performing arts space and then converting that performing arts space into something like
Classrooms.
10 classrooms or something, do you remember?
And
It was numerous classrooms.
locker room space.
And then still having that performance art space, but it allows for you to expand it without the footprint getting too large. Meanwhile, I do think that there's a conversation we need to have about like a 20-year plan, kind of like when we bought this land out here, however many years ago, with the intention of building out here. I think there needs to be a plan of this high school will last us another 20 years, but in 20 years, wherever we're gonna build needs to be secured by that point, before that point, obviously.
So when you mentioned about building the junior high space,
I would think just out here, where we already own land.
no, you were building an elementary
Oh,
at
yes,
the
sorry.
junior high. You're talking about on that same piece of land in the back, or take that down, raise it, and then.
I wanna know what would be most cost effective.
Yeah, okay.
And there are parts of that building that are still, like our choir area, our music area is still in decent shape. And if that were a 4th and 5th grade building, we have 5th grade band. So could they use that, could we keep that band and music area? Could we keep the nicer of the 2 gyms, because that one gym is nasty. Are there pieces that we could keep?
Bulldoze the narrow hallways and lack of restrooms.
Right, but then update the other pieces to make it more like an upper elementary. I don't know. And then again, that goes back to the architect, like, I don't know what the acreage would look like. Thoughts on that?
Okay, I've got 2 options I'd like to put on the table.
Okay, can I write that down as a thought, or you guys feel like that is?
But what down as a thought?
Right,
What does it?
I think you write it all down.
yeah. Okay, so junior high.
I think any option that has the junior high being used as an elementary building, probably a 4 to 5 building, because that's a common thread in several of these options. I think we need to see rebuild versus rehab numbers, so we can make a smart financial decision.
I agree 100%. I feel like I have no idea what that cost looks like, whether it's better to just build a new one.
It needs to be a smart financial decision for the taxpayers, not a we need to bulldoze because we need new, or we need to keep it because we've always had it. It needs to be what makes sense.
Okay.
All right. So I've got
Keep on.
2 I'd like to put on. The first one I'd like to put on the table is kind of Becky's idea, only the high school would be on a new site. Because I'm worried about long-term space and parking and traffic flow.
Right.
So high school on a new site, junior high becomes the high school, or the high school becomes a junior high. The junior high becomes a 4 and 5 spot, either in that building or a new building, whatever makes the most financial sense. Lincoln Trail's a 2 to 3 building, and this building becomes a pre-K, a 1 building.
Okay.
And I guess one reason I like Becky's idea and the idea I just put forth is exactly what you said. Originally back in the day, I thought, well, we can just put another addition on junior high, we can put another addition on here, I'm sorry, we could put another addition on Lincoln Trail. But at 800 and some kids, they're just unmanageable, and I don't think it's very smart of us to do that anymore. Might we want to do some work in Lincoln Trail to create some smaller spaces for smaller groups of kids to do instructional things? and some of the support staff that we don't have space for now, we probably would. But as far as adding more student count to that building, we don't need to add any more students. We don't need plans that add any more students, in my opinion, to either existing elementary building. That's just me. So I like the Becky plan that she put forth, only put the high school on a
Okay.
different site. That's one of the options I have.
Hold on, Max, question on that. When thinking about that, what are you thinking as far as the land we have out here?
I'm thinking we decide if that makes financial sense first. I think we have the budget for land. I don't think we can put it on land we currently own. We would have to either purchase adjacent land or
Okay.
we'd have to purchase another.
Okay,
And we'd have to figure that in.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right,
But nothing, I appreciate Becky's creativity. I think it's brilliant, but I'm just not into trying to pack things in more. I think long-term.
But
Live
if we
right.
take out the softball, baseball field
No, I understand that,
and then use that for parking.
but we've already got a bunch of traffic up there.
Right, but if you would have a roadway
I
from
understand.
Raleigh or Division.
And I'm not saying we shouldn't explore. I'm just saying I've got concerns.
And there might be flooding issues too, I have no idea.
There'd be a lot of distance needed.
What's that, John?
There'd be a lot of different.
Yeah.
okay, Max, you
So
said.
then the other plan, is, this becomes a pre-KK 1 building. Lincoln Trail becomes a 2-3 building. The current junior high site becomes a 4-5 building,
Okay.
okay? We build a new junior high. Okay, and then at the, which I think this is less cost than the plan I just mentioned previously. And then the high school, we use some of the space that Becky's found out there. We add the fine arts or whatever we want to add to create more classroom space.
Right.
And add more parking.
And junior high, build a new junior high on this current land.
Junior high and current land. So
Okay.
under that plan, we don't need more land. And it's lower cost than the first plan I mentioned.
Okay. So you were saying,
But still lets us
Junior high.
expand the high school, build junior high out here, and then do an expansion at the high school. To carry us for the next
yeah,
30 years, whatever.
Do we, over by the, so northeast of the baseball field, there's timber
yeah, that's us.
to the interstate. Do we own all of that timber?
I think so.
To the interstate.
I think we do,
Yeah.
I think we do.
So
We use it as a sound buffer, right?
but I don't know about like
from Division
flooding.
to, northeast to the interstate, we own all of that land. It's all timber.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think they drop some,
Yep,
need a lot of fill,
sure.
and you want to leave some sound.
Yes, that parcel is 3.36 acres.
If you want to be enlightened sometime, during a home football game, go over and sit on our visitor side. It is a much different experience over there than we have on the home side because of the interstate traffic.
Yeah.
You really hear, it's amazing how much more you hear it over there than you hear it on the home side.
Sonny, I'm sorry, did your plan include a new elementary building?
My plan is what Max just,
The second one I just.
the second one you just.
I
So the
just-
new
I just
elementary,
packaged it all together.
you did package it really well, but much nicer than I did. The new building, a new elementary would be whatever we do to the junior high, to turn it into a 4-5 building. So whether that's a brand new building or whether that's a refurbishment of the junior high or.
Right.
what
Could be a
that
brand new building, could be refurbishment, could be a combo where we keep part of
is.
it
Right,
and bulldoze.
right, but it will be using that land.
And again, I think that needs to be a financial decision, not driven with one of the two extremes. The two extremes being, we gotta have a new building, and the other extreme being, we gotta keep an old building at all costs because we already own it. We need to see what makes financial sense.
Yeah, there's 4.84. What I was talking about there is that's to what Kyle was talking about earlier. using more of it, and then behind the football field you're talking about, and I've admittedly not spent any time over there.
I did accidentally. I mean, you've really got to try and go over there, right?
Yeah, right. Is that part, trying to find parking,
See, we're about
just
here.
looking at I'm looking at it's like, gosh, we have a lot of space over there.
It's not a level terrain though.
No, it's
It
not.
falls off.
A lot of,
Hard to
so
believe
a lot of brush, a lot of
that
fill.
much.
In looking at, just like some alternative, thoughts, like if we were to acquire land other than what we have here, are there some things that we would hit on as far as like wish lists, like you gotta have utilities, right? You can't just be like 2 miles
Right.
of the town.
Yeah, you gotta have utilities.
It's gotta be, I'm assuming, within township, or does it not? I mean,
Doesn't have to be. Interstate access would be nice if it's a high school because of all the
stuff.
groups we put on the road and bring in. Frankly, we host a lot of stuff.
And is there a minimal, I mean, there's been some talk about like, how many acres would you need for a high school? It was like 60 to 80 or
It'd be about
is there a
60
number?
acres.
60?
Yeah,
I mean, 60 is on the low end, isn't it, Kenny?
yeah, that's what the recommendation is.
But I think initially they were thinking 90.
And that would just be like, you'd have all the
It's a
transportation.
lot of money. That's a lot of money. But if you do it back, like that, what would be the high school now, that's included. That can be included in, like, because of the football field, all the parking lots.
When you think about then
What if
getting them to
you-
practices after school,
That's
So,
exactly what I'm.
well, that would be at the games. It'd be hard at the games. The band, it would be hard for the band to come out here with all their equipment. It would be hard for football with all their equipment to come out here for games. Everything would be practice. The football field now would be practice.
okay, but
So-
what about cross track?
We'd have the track
Or-
still. And they would, cross-country runs like the woods, I mean, nothing would change except for games. Because the high school goes to the soccer field now. And baseball
Well,
and
baseball
softball.
practice would change.
Baseball and softball, yeah. Well, yeah. But, I mean, pros and cons.
Well,
But it
Or
would be hard on game times.
Routing.
I'm gonna give you high points for creativity.
I know, I A+ for A
Plus.
plus kudos for thinking outside the box.
I still think that there's some potential to do something there though. Like even if it's what Max said or what you said, like, I don't think you shut that down, cause that is a
Yeah.
huge parcel
So one of the things that
That we own.
that we already own.
I guess one question is how buildable is that land?
I have no idea.
Because it seems like is it like a drainage
You talking,
behind that?
I think the direction of the board president tonight was to spin ideas. We can't work out all, I mean, that's an architect.
Correct, that's one of the questions I'm writing
I
down
mean,
here.
he'll tell us if we build on it or not.
So, this is not a specific plan, but I had a couple of things I share with Sunny. And I've talked with several board members about personally, like safety has to be like one of our number one things. And so whether it's build this or do that, I think every building the safety has to be addressed.
Right.
Like that's just it's gotta be in there. So whether it's a small thing or a big thing, like every building, we have to ramp up our safety for our kids and our teachers. Talk about like, adding space or like taking 3 grades and taking that building down to having 2, like people have talked in the community, have talked about bullying, came up in our survey, like alleviating some of that pressure, I feel like is gonna alleviate some of that potential issue for that stuff to come up. These are all positive things. And then just like Sunny mentioned, like the cost of doing something or not doing something, waiting a year, waiting 2 years, waiting 3 years, that's going up pretty rapidly. So
One
we
of the
have to
things,
factor all that in.
thanks for bringing that up. One of the things we talked with our architect about was if we were to do the $60 million plan that just failed, if that were to pass, it would now cost us $66 million. So the time.
Well, it would cost us more than that, because that's just the construction cost, the cost to borrow the money. has one and two.
Sure,
So that's not a cost to us, what's it cost to taxpayers?
right.
Heather and I are meeting with Kevin Hyde on Thursday to have him run some different numbers too, just so we have that.
Should improve.
Yeah, that should start to float back. All the analysts say it's coming down this next year. It's already started to soften a little bit.
I want to make sure I've got, does anybody have any other ideas?
I've got a couple.
Go ahead.
Before I talk about the first one, I have a question. Is there any possibility of fifth and sixth grade being in the same building? Because I know we've talked about licensure.
I don't think,
And-
that's not my decision to make, but that's something that I think would be very.
Yeah, I remember that being kind of a hurdle.
Yeah.
I think that's still on the hurdle category.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right.
That means
Assuming that
we're
is.
spinning ideas.
Right, assuming that's impossible. I remember this idea being tossed around during 2022, where we build a new elementary school out here. I guess it'd be 3 through 5 or 4 and 5, so there'd be, less new construction. And then you put third grade here, which I know goes against a bunch of elementary students in one building. Maybe you add more administration, I don't know.
So make this a pre-K through 3 building.
So you
Potentially, or keep it the way it is, and then you have 3 through 5 in a new building on this site.
So we're not thinning out the elementaries at all.
And
Okay,
then,
keep going.
and then Lincoln Trail would be 6th grade. Junior high would be 7th and 8th. And just in past conversations, 6th graders are babies in comparison to 8th graders, but they're so, so much bigger than 3rd graders. So they're kind of in this weird part of life where maybe it makes sense. And I know, I think Urbana's separating out their 6th grade students.
If you want to know why they're separated.
I'm sure there's more, I'm sure there are different reasons. Yeah. But just seeing as maybe they're different than most of the other surround them in age. Okay, and then the second idea I had is very simple. And it operates under the premise, kind of what Max was saying, refurbishment versus new construction. I've got to think if we have, say, 30 classrooms just at the junior high, for example, and we need 35, conceivably, it's cheaper to add 5 classrooms to the 30 that you already have versus build a building with 35. So the second idea is simply keep the buildings we have and add on to them, solve the capacity issue under the assumption that it could potentially be the cheapest option.
Okay, so add on. However many classrooms.
To all four, keep all 4, no new construction. I'm not saying that is, in my opinion, the best option. I'm operating under the premise that could potentially be the cheapest option.
And we did hear that from people too. And there was a lot of talk about building up versus out. And I don't know from a teaching or any of that, but like in residential construction, it's cheaper to build up than it is out. Sure.
It has to do with the foundation of buildings, so like.
But
you
if you're adding an addition though, like this.
Oh,
this-
right.
You add 2 stories.
Yeah.
That's.
I thought you were talking about building onto the junior high, which was.
Yeah, let's be very clear. There's a story that's been going around town for years. The junior high was designed so we could put a second story on it. That is patently not true. It was not
I
designed.
wouldn't want to put too much weight on that.
No, we don't. Now, as far as building new
But
construction,
you build it in.
like when we built the first and second grade wing and we went to, that makes perfect sense. But let's be real clear, we can't put it up. I mean, could you put it upstairs on junior high? You could. Would it be cost efficient? No, because you'd be sinking big steel on the ground to support it.
So, I'm not sure how much adding on classrooms to all the buildings is much different than just putting portables outside.
Well, it's a lot safer. Looks,
Temporarily.
it's not.
I mean, well, no, it's not a problem temporarily, is what I'm saying. If you add on 5 classrooms to all the buildings, that's like putting a couple of portables outside.
But he didn't say how big the addition would be though. I don't know.
Well, I thought you said 30 to 35, if we need 5.
I was just using random
Okay,
numbers as an
okay,
example. if we need to achieve a certain amount of space, it should be cheaper to start with the space that we already have versus
Okay,
build that space from zero.
so
Might not be the best
we
long
would
term.
need
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
But if that is an immediate concern and so is money, then conceivably, that's the easiest way to solve it and the cheapest way to solve it.
Well, it is
Quickest way to
this,
solve it.
like here. I don't think the cafeteria, the art room, the music room, the gym support any more students. So when we're putting that addition on, we've gotta build some of that. Again, well, does it make sense to build it attached, or does it make more sense to go build it freestanding where you've got more options?
Wasn't this building constructed to be added onto though?
Yeah, we
Like
did.
the back.
First and second.
But I mean, even more. with-
It was, yes.
Okay.
There's spots where we could add on to this.
But to your point, you'd have to add another cafeteria, another gymnasium.
Right.
another-
And at that point, you might as well just build a new
Facility, right? So another thing to consider with that, and this thing might get us these numbers, it usually costs more to tie into something than it would new freestanding, so. But then the scale of
Yeah.
Again, if we're looking at options.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying, it is an
Yeah,
option that,
absolutely.
you know, if cost is the number one factor in voting for a referendum, then you need to consider something that's cheap.
I think that's a whole range of options.
Right, I'd have a
Yeah.
hard time supporting that option, but if we're looking at options, we should look at it.
Take a look.
Take a look.
You know,
I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah.
It's like, it wasn't necessarily my plan, but we heard it a lot.
Yeah.
So
We solved all the issues. It's the most expensive option.
what was
Okay,
it?
go back.
Go buy 100 acres. Becky's, I think, is building a new high school efficiently.
So you're saying, so would you, can you flesh that out?
Yeah, so I'm just looking at this map.
No, pause. I mean, like with the other buildings.
Yeah,
Okay,
yep. So you start with the end in mind. Your high school is your most expensive. That's where we have seen, it's where growth happens in our district. You buy 100 acres and you build a brand new high school, all encompassing of everything.
okay.
You keep the high school. That becomes junior high, which is historically what this community has done. The current junior high, then this stays pre-K through 1.
Okay.
You move, you just,
Kind of like what we did before.
yes, but I'm saying build a new.
So that goes back to kind of what we were talking about, build a high school, but on a new site. And
New
you
site.
are, we have them price out 100 acres? Like you have that in
well,
your range.
If it's, I mean, I'm just thinking if you're going to, I don't know the square footage that we're going to need.
He would,
Yes,
Yeah,
and if
he
you
would.
can go up, you're not gonna need it.
right, he
I
would.
think that build, whatever that plan is, if that's what's chosen, we have to have those potential additions. That has to be done
Yeah.
smartly. So we can say, hey, we can add a second floor here, we can do this.
Okay, so that's similar to what we have here.
I just,
Okay.
if we're going to go to the taxpayer and ask for money, and it's the most expensive option, we need to be able to clearly say, we think that this is a long-term mass, yes, it's the most expensive, but it alleviates all of our problems for generations.
Great.
And I think that that's something that we need to do, and
Well, let's get numbers. Okay, and Justin, I want to make sure you know.
My lines up with what you were saying.
You feel heard?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay. You feel heard?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, all right.
100%. Heard or hurt? Heard, yes.
You feel heard.
No, not at all.
It's okay. This is wonderful. Can I real quickly run through these super quick to make sure I've got them all? I have 5 written down. Nope, I have 6 written down. Number 1, Becky's super creative idea build up on high school, build a new high school on the practice field at the high school building up. Convert the current high school into a new junior high, leaving it right there in that space. Turn some fields into parking, turn football into a turf field so that it can be used as practice field. Move some of the other fields, softball, baseball, move those out.
And make a new football field
And
over
move
here
the
too.
bus barn here.
And make a new football field.
here, I did write football down, but then I
Move
was going to
transportation.
that. Keep, and then lower population, Middletown is a pre-KK 1, Lincoln Trail 2-3, junior high, convert that to an elementary 4-5. Okay, and on that same plan, I wrote down what is the acreage behind the high school and how much of that is usable. Okay. Second plan is this campus idea that we've heard from several community members. What would it take to create more of a campus type system out here? We would need to build either an elementary or junior high first out here, then building on from there. How long would that take and how much would that cost? Yes. And then the question I wrote down is, what do we do with our old buildings?
Mhm.
Third plan I heard is build a new junior high on the current land and add on to the high school as needed. Make the junior high into a 4-5 elementary building. Make Lincoln Trail a 2-3 building and make Middletown a pre-KK 1 building. The next plan I heard was high school on a new site, separate land, potentially 100 acres, maybe less. Convert the old high school into a junior high. The junior high would become the 4-5 building. Lincoln Trail would become a 2-3 building. Middletown would become a pre-KK 1 building. The fifth plan I heard was Middletown becomes potentially a pre-K through 3 building and build a new 4-5, or we could keep Middletown as a pre-K through 2 building and build a new 3-5 out here on this land. Lincoln Trail would become a building for 6th grade only. And the junior high would house only the 7th and 8th. Jordan, you didn't say anything about the high school in that plan. Would we want to add on to the high school?
As needed, I guess, yeah.
Add on as needed. And then the final plan was leave everything the same. Simply add on the needed number of classrooms we need onto all of the buildings that we need spaces for. That's
Did you have the add on to the high school, build the junior high? And then we will.
build a junior high on the current
Yeah.
land.
That's.
Yes, that's
Current
plan.
land, meaning current land we own or current.
Current land we own.
Not the current junior.
And then some classrooms and parking at the high school.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
When you said the land we own, I thought you meant we'd rebuild it.
I'm so sorry, no,
That
I'm
becomes a
laying
five.
it all out here.
That becomes a 4-5 building.
Then the last one's buy 100 acres, build a gym.
Yeah.
I consolidated that one in number 4,
Okay.
because that kind of lined up with.
Okay.
In addition to the other alignment of the grades.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Bannister doesn't care about any other grade except high school. He's just wants a gem. Give me a gem. I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm sorry. All
So
right,
then to summarize, these go to Damien,
yes.
he's gonna price them,
Mhm.
he's gonna let us know what the price is, and then it gets turned over.
Yeah, we're gonna have a conversation about it in January.
Right.
We welcome everybody to come and join and give feedback.
We're making decisions, Jay.
No, but I want to hear
Turn it
my
over to the committee.
Yeah, and if people hate all of these things, but they like pieces of them, great, we'll come up with a different program.
I feel like we represented a lot of what we heard, if not everything.
I think. we
There
did-
might be like pieces of each of these, to your point.
But I don't want this to perceive as something driven.
Somebody might be able to put those puzzle pieces together better than us.
I love it, which is why we hire an architect, yes. Okay, it is time for a comfort break. We are going to take just a quick 10-minute break and we will come back and continue. Thank you very much for great idea. Right. Okay, everybody is back. We're good. Okay, we are moving on to new business. Approval of health plan, Heather Smith. Hello.
Good evening. Tonight, we're going to talk about our health insurance. Up to this point, we have always had a direct relationship with Health Alliance. So we didn't have a broker involved or any in between. And it has come to our attention by Mr. Randy Butts at Clemens Insurance that there's probably some room for savings due to the fact that they continue to give us no increases, so that obviously they are probably making money off of us. So, not knowing the, how much they are or what they're, there was some other options that Mr. Butts looked into for us. And, what we are doing is giving the employees the same benefits, the same insurance. There's a few copays that are going to be less. But we are going to try to do it in a different manner. What we're going to do is we're also going to incorporate an HRA. And that's a health reimbursement. And I have done this before, and I have seen it work with a much larger deductible. The idea of it is for high deductible plans to come in and pay the deductibles. And kind of in your world, the higher the risk, the more return as well. But we've decided to start with $1,000 just to, see how it works. And with this, because the difference in the premiums, you'll see that there are differences in premiums. Health Alliance is going to give us lower premiums because their risk is now shifting. They are not going to have to go up to the out-of-pocket, they're not going to have to pay anything. The HRA has to pay up to the out-of-pocket max. And you'll see in the one big difference you'll see in the plan documents is that there's $1,000 copay for an individual and a $2,000 copay for the family. But that is actually not going to happen in the background. What will happen is that say I go to the doctor and I go and Health Alliance gets my claim. They pay the claim and then they send it over to the HRA administrator. And then they pay the provider the deductible, back the deductible. So that way the employee should not see any difference in the plan. But it does give us an opportunity to possibly save some money. It all has to do with utilization. We will not lose money on this just because the difference in our premiums are more than the max liability of the HRA. So, and that is because of the lower deductible that we're going to in the first place. If we went to a higher deductible, like what I was used to in the past was a $6,000 deductible, you would have some, you wouldn't pay that. It gets picked up, but you would see about, $200,000 of risk if depending on your utilization. So that's how it kind of works. But if our utilization is the way it is today, we will save some money. If our utilization was to go up, we may not save as much, or if our utilization goes down, we could save even more. So, this first year will be a learning experience just to see how much we can save and if we feel comfortable with it, we can, either increase that deductible. And the point of this is to just sustain our current benefits. I'm sure, people outside the school district know that we have extraordinary benefits. No deductible, you don't see that very often anymore. You don't see $2,000 out-of-pocket max anymore. I had never seen it until I came here. So to be able to sustain that for our employees, this is a good way to do that. And I know somebody in here will ask me, will we track it? Yes, I will be tracking it on a regular basis. So
Who would that be?
So that we know, where we're at this time next year.
And we'll meet quarterly with Randy Butts.
Yes.
So do the employees then for the HRA, do they decide on an amount? Like, do they have to do 1,000?
No. It is 1,000 no matter what.
Okay.
So, it is 1,000.
That gets back to zero deductible.
Yeah, it'll go back to
Maybe they wanted to do, I see, like 500 or something, and
no,
they're automatically gonna have $1,000 deductible or no?
yes, for individual, but they're not gonna have to pay it. The HRA comes and pays it, so they'll still have the $0 deductible at the individual and family level.
how fast does the HRA reimbursement?
That, they're telling us right now, they're actually changing providers. So they're going to something called consocial health. And they're telling us about 2 weeks is what the turnaround would be. So hopefully that would be before, any bills would go out. That's our hope and plan.
That's, yeah, I just want to make sure there wasn't like a 2-week period where the employee now had to float that money before.
No, they do not have to pay it. That's why
Well,
we,
that's,
because there was 2 options, was to have the employee reimbursed and then to have the provider reimbursed. And we went with having the provider reimbursed. That way the employee does not have to do anything.
good.
Are there,
We were having it.
Yes.
Good.
are there, any projections that you're working on for potential savings? Like if our, district use is the same as the average of the last couple of years or whatever, like when you're looking forward, like what is the projected?
Dr. Lee knows I'm a little
This is when
hesitant.
she gets real nervous because she doesn't want to put it.
I don't like promising savings that aren't going to be there. That's just one of my things,
I mean, in
We're
our
not-
little office, she guaranteed $500,000.
No, I did not. Yes, you can tell that's a little,
When Kevin and I were talking about insurance the other night, is that, as any good business manager, is very conservative in any projections and things like that. So the worst case scenario is we break even. Best case scenario would be a couple $100,000.
Well, I appreciate the effort that we're gonna do, trying to find some areas where we can carve out some savings. I think that's phenomenal.
And to keep it the same for the employee.
Well, that's the
Yes.
key, right? And we talked about that with our group, is that, it's, if we're diminishing benefits, it's not a benefit.
We're actually making money because healthcare costs accelerate. They're more susceptible to inflation than anything else.
Right,
So they would be able to keep the same providers and everything?
Yes.
yes. And we were adamant about that as well, absolutely.
Yes, everything should stay the exact same for them if it works, the way it's supposed to. And the way I've seen it work.
So in a layman's terms, we're cutting out Walmart, we're cutting out Costco, and we're going direct to true wholesale. Even better than wholesale, we're going passing everything. We're cutting out all the middle.
Well, I think that the true wholesale piece would be self-insured. But and we bid that and the bid came back horrible, like, an additional $500,000 to take on all of that risk. So this is the next best thing.
Dr. Lee knows I'm like shaky about that too. I have done self-insured too. You're just taking on a risk. You don't know what's gonna happen.
So is it step towards self-insurance?
We'll have to see if they ever come into the numbers.
Yes, I think it's a step towards
Towards,
increase.
but
I think it's a step towards
Pricing doesn't
increasing the
mean
HRA. That'd be
that's
my,
probably, well,
that would be the deductible.
The next logical would be to increase our deductible.
Cause I reached out to somebody I worked with
Yeah.
on this and, he did the same plan that we had in my prior district and it was about 900,000 conservatively with a $6,000 deductible. So that, so you can move that up and save a lot of money.
Yeah.
Cause you don't have all the,
Sure.
you have some stability in it besides just being self-insured.
Was there a thought to where this, we won't know until this is done, but like where that savings can be towards something, is there something in mind or are we gonna bank that away or what's?
Well, no, probably the plan is like you said, insurance is continuing to go up. So to be able to sustain their benefits and, everything like that, that's the first priority. Other priorities would be to, what if they, we could go and pay for something else or whatnot. It would stay in the health insurance account. So that's what it would
This is a safety net.
yes.
It's probably more of a safety net and employee benefits.
Mhm.
Any other questions? All right. The superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the health insurance proposal as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
When does this go into play?
January 1.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Ron,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Cone,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yeah.
Bannister,
Yes.
Severance,
Yes.
Murray.
Yes. All right, the health plan is approved. Heather, dental plan.
Dental plan. Dental and vision are a little bit different. We don't actually pay any part of the premium for the employee, so this is a benefit that they can pick up on their own. So the good news is for Delta Dental, the prices did stay the same, for our employees, and still do it through a payroll deduction. But what they do is, once we do this, it gets put in a liability and then we pay it out to the insurance company. So recommending that we continue with Delta Dental on the current plan, current, benefits and everything with the current premiums.
Any questions?
What's our participation rate? Do you know?
I do not know, but I can find out for you.
Okay, that's not that much.
I'm assuming it's pretty high. I mean, as you can, see, they're decent rates for dental and.
Move to approve.
All right, can I get a second to approve?
Second?
Thank you. All right, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Gordon,
Yes.
McComb,
Yes.
Bannister,
Yes.
Severance,
Yes.
Rock,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes. All right, the dental plan is approved, and vision plan, Heather.
Vision is a repeat of dental.
Okay. Any questions?
Different company.
Only a different company, it's IMED. So same benefits, it is just a pass through, and same rates for this year as well. They have guaranteed these rates for 48 months.
All right, questions for Heather? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the vision plan?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, let's do a roll call for that, please.
Lamb,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Severance,
Yes.
Rock,
Yes.
McComb,
Yes.
Bannister,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes, the vision plan is approved, and continuing with the other section. Excellent.
My time of year. Well, we've gone through the, levy data a few times. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Now at this point, once we approve the levy, have to have it in before the last, I don't know when they got this, last Tuesday of December. So I'll take it to the county clerk's office tomorrow if this is approved. And then we will find out around March or April what the new EAV is for sure. And then I'm sure Dr. Lee will probably update you on, how that affected the rate, which hopefully will be very minimal.
Any questions?
Move to approve the levy as presented.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote?
McComb,
Yes.
Bannister, pardon me, yes, McComb, Bannister,
Yes.
Severance,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Rock,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes. Tax levy is approved. Heather, you can sit down.
Yes.
Yes, all right. Policy 7:100, Dr. Lee.
Yes, as I mentioned last month, we're bringing forward policy 7100 that would update the current practice for student exclusion if they don't adhere to certain health requirements prior to the first day of student attendance. You can see I had Jody update that in the actual, what that policy would look like. Currently, we have it as October 15th. We feel it's safest for our students to have met the medical requirements prior to attending school. In past experiences, I've also seen families take these requirements more seriously when they're contemplating timing to meet those requirements. Amending this policy will assist our school office in tracking students as well. So just up for review.
Yeah, is there any way, I'm the parent that gets a call from the nurse about, my kids are vaccinated, but to show proof, is there any way we could send out a letter other than at the end of the previous year to let them know what they, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, we talked about that.
Okay.
That this spring we'll hammer that. And you have to, especially more than ever, the first year that you implement it,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah.
cause I'm just that parent that honestly would be like, oh yeah, I'll put it over here and then I'll never get to it.
Yeah.
I just need those gentle reminders.
Yeah.
A lot.
Your problem's getting your homework in.
A little bit.
A little bit.
It gets done.
We're not gonna.
Any other questions on that? All right, that was just a first reading. All right, item 6 is, Dr. Lee.
Yes, I'm recommending that we terminate, transportation employee Kathy Smythe, as presented.
They have a motion to approve termination of transportation employee Kathy Smythe. Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Bannister,
Yes.
Rock,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Severance,
Yes.
McComb,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes, okay, that passes. And Dr. Lee, item 7.
Yes, I'm recommending that the Board of Education approve, the resolution, before you, that authorizes a notice, to remedy for tenured teacher Polly McCoy.
May I have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing a notice to remedy for tenured teacher Polly McCoy as presented by the administration?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Severance,
Yes.
Bannister,
Yes.
Rock,
Yes.
McComb,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes. At this time, closed session is necessary for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. Is there a motion to go into closed session for those reasons?
So moved. Sorry.
I go
Max.
Max.
I'll second it.
Second it. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Rock,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
McComb,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Bannister,
Yes.
Severance,
Yes.
McMurray.
Yes. At this time, we are going to turn off YouTube because we do not anticipate coming back into open session to conduct any business after closed session. So we will take a break, turn our recorders over, and turn off YouTube. Thank you, everybody.